Good day, doctor. I'm Lei Ying, and today I will be presenting my initial research proposal for the module MGT6202E Business Research Method. The title of my study is Examine the Role of Employer Branding and HRM Practices in Retaining Talent within Malaysia's Digital Economy. The reason I am choosing this topic is because this study is particularly relevant in today's competitive business landscapes, where organizations are increasingly dependent on digital talent to drive innovation and maintain competitiveness. My research seeks to understand how employer branding and HRM practices work together to enhance employer relations, especially in Malaysia's fast-growing digital sector. Malaysia's digital economy has expanded rapidly over the past decade, supported by the My Digital Blueprint and various national initiatives. Digitalization is taking place across multi-industry, including IT services, telecommunications, and e-commerce. As Malaysia moves towards becoming a regional digital hub, demand for digital professionals has surged. However, despite this growth, organizations face a persistent challenge where high employee turnover, especially among young digital professionals. Many talented employees resign for better benefits, maybe faster career development or international opportunity. This talent drain affects productivity, innovation, and organizational stability. Consequently, employer branding and effective HRM practices have become critical tools for organizations seeking to differentiate themselves and promote long-term employee commitment. Strong employer branding can influence how employees perceive the organization, while HRM practices shape their day-to-day work experience. Understanding how these two factors jointly influence retention is the core motivation behind this research. For the theoretical framework, this study is guided by two core theories. First, social exchange theory suggests that when employees feel supported and valued through HRM practices, such as fair performance management, training opportunities, or recognition, they tend to reciprocate with loyalty and commitment. Second, signaling theory explains that employer branding sends signals to both potential and existing employees about the organization culture, value, and stabilities. A strong employer brand signals trustworthiness and opportunity, influencing employees' decision to remain. By combining this theory, the study examined how positive employer branding signals reinforced by supportive HRM practices ultimately shape retention behavior. Next, while past studies have examined employer branding and HRM practices individually, research that integrates both constructs, especially within Malaysia's digital sector, is still limited. Many scholars highlight retention issues, but few have explored how HRM practices may reinforce or breach employer branding promises. Additionally, existing studies tend to focus on traditional industry, leaving a gap in understanding the unique dynamic of digital work environment, which are fast-paced, competitive, and highly skill-driven. Therefore, there is a clear need for empirical evidence that examine the combined influence of employer branding and HRM practices on retention in Malaysia's digital economy. Therefore, my study aims to fill this gap through quantitative analysis. Further on, the main purpose of this study is to examine how employer branding and HRM practices influence talent retention. In this case, there are three specific objectives. First, to assess the relationship between employer branding and employee retention. Second, to examine how HRM practices influence employee retention. While third, to analyze whether HRM practices mediate the relationship between employer branding and retention. Based on this objective, three hypotheses are also proposed. The first hypothesis states that employer branding has a positive effect on retention. Second hypothesis, HRM practices have a positive effect on retention, while third hypothesis stated that HRM practices mediate the relationship between employer branding and retention. Therefore, testing these three hypotheses will clarify the mechanism through which organizations retain their digital talent. For the scope of this study, this research focuses specifically on employees working within Malaysia's digital economy, including IT firms, digital services, and technology-based organizations. The geographic scope covers Malaysia as a whole, recognizing that digital talent is distributed across the regional cities. The unit of analysis is individual employees, and a quantitative dataset is used to ensure reliable, generalizable results that reflect the broader digital workforce. The research employs a quantitative cross-sectional design. Data will be collected using an online questionnaire distributed via Google Form, allowing respondents from various digital sectors to participate conveniently. A stratified random sampling approach will ensure balanced representation from different digital industries, and the target sample size is approximately 100 respondents. Data analysis will include descriptive analysis, correlation, regression, and mediation testing. Reliability will be assessed using Cronbach alpha to ensure the internal consistency of the measurement item. Microsoft Excel and Power BI will be used for data cleaning, visualization, and statistical analysis. Ethical considerations include voluntary participation, anonymity, and confidently, where all participants will be informed of their rights before completing the survey. The questionnaire is structured around three validated constructs from previous research. Employer branding is measured using Tanwa and Prasad scale, which includes items related to organization culture, career opportunity, and practices that influence employee attractiveness. HRM practices are measured using items developed by ESA and SHO, focusing on training, performance appraisal, reward system, and employee involvement. Employee retention is measured using the scale of Kashyap and Verma, capturing employees' intention to stay and their sense of commitment. All items are rated on a 5-point Likert scale to facilitate quantitative analysis. Based on prior literature, it is expected that strong employer branding and effective HRM practices will significantly increase employee retention in digital organizations. Employees are more likely to stay when they perceive the organization values their growth and when HRM practices match the employer branding messages. It is also anticipated that HRM practices will serve as a mediating mechanism, meaning employer branding alone is insufficient unless supported by actual HR processes and employees' experience. This study offers several contributions. First, academic contribution. It extends social exchange theory and signality theory within the context of Malaysia's digital workforce, providing empirical evidence in an under-researched domain. Second, policy contribution. Findings can support national initiatives such as HRD Corp, Human Resource Development Corporation, and My Digital, helping policymakers understand how talent retention can be strengthened. Third, industry contribution. Organizations can use the insight to develop more strategic employer branding and HRM intervention that promote employee loyalty and talent sustainability. In conclusion, this study integrates employer branding and HRM's perspectives to provide a more holistic understanding of talent retention in Malaysia's digital economy. The findings aims to contribute both to academic theory and to practical industry strategies. By strengthening HRM practices and employer branding, organizations can not only improve retention but also build a more competitive and sustainable digital workforce. So that's all from me, and thank you for your time.